And we're live. All right.
Awesome.
Lydia, thanks for joining me today. I'm super excited. We did a LinkedIn Live 2 or 3 weeks ago and really did a deep dive on our HR platform in Find, which is really a frictionless HCM enterprise platform for frontline workforces. And our core platform that we started with and that we're going to talk about today is our time and labor management system. And so I'm excited to kind of show everybody what we've done in that space and hopefully help people solve some problems when it comes to supporting their frontline workforce. I'm going to start us off with just a couple of slides. Promise not to slide everybody to death here, but and I apologize because my voice is a little raspy, but Lydia, can you see that full screen?
Yeah, that looks good.
Awesome. So I want to start off with there's tons of different timekeeping solutions out in the market. So, why did Find build a system that is going to go out there and compete to solve these problems? But really, how is it different, or how are we focused differently in solving these problems? And so, I talk about this word frictionless a lot, but really it's a matter of when you have highly dispersed workforces that are, hourly based and quite honestly often have different environments that they might be going to for work. And there might be high turnover or seasonality involved in that business. The first thing that we need to think about is how do we remove all of the hurdles for the worker to make it super easy for them while protecting the organization from risks that are associated with making it simple, and then giving them the information they need to drive the business in terms of their costing and different allocations that need to take place. So ultimately, everybody can get paid accurately, on time, and the most efficient way possible. And that's really what Find is focused on, is solving for that risk and simplicity while still delivering some value back to an organization. And we have really 3 different modes of the way that we organize or deploy our clocks. The first is this individual mode, which is essentially somebody that's going to carry around a company issued cell phone or device or their own personal device. And the device is registered specifically to them. So the only ones that can punch into it, and that provides an additional layer of security, but it also enables them to get a lot more personalized information and interaction with the organization. The second way is a clock mode, which is based for crews or teams of people that might be clocking into, let's just say, a facility or a construction site, or maybe a building that they're guarding if they're a part of a security team. And they're going to just clock into that one building over and over and over again. And it will be fixed in that environment. And the third way is the same type of technology used in that clock mode for the crew or team, but then taking it on a tablet that can go to different facilities, different sites, different projects. And the ways that Find was built, and what's really different about it, is that we have a mobile biometric, which is based on facial recognition, which we're going to talk about some of the differentiation we have in our facial recognition, because a lot of people talk about it, but you don't really understand the nuances and the specificity that facial recognition requires. All of our deployments work on any iOS or Android device, so you don't need specific hardware to support this technology. We are one of the only systems that truly is fully offline supported. We're offline first, if you will. So the ability to punch in, collect time, and have that individual go to work is never compromised. And then we have the ability to organize geofences around these locations, which isn't new or different, but what is new or different in our technology is we also have the ability to tie in these devices called 3D micro locations, or think about them as air tags or Bluetooth beacons. And what that enables is if you're on the 30th floor of a building trying to clock in, you could clock in the parking lot or in the lobby if you're just in a generalized geofence, because it doesn't know if you're upstairs in the basement or wherever. And so these Bluetooth beacons allow you to really capture when people are clocking in within a certain vicinity of the beacon, so you know that they're at the right location when they're supposed to be there. And then the last thing I'll mention is breadcrumbing. So when you're moving from location to location, or maybe you're moving around a campus environment, being able to really see where that individual traveled to, are they following the planned routes that are involved, and how fast are they getting from location A to location B? So again, if you need to cost allocate travel differently than work time, you can easily do that. And then the last thing that I'll share is, our ability to have this enterprise deployable platform is great, but it also needs to integrate maybe with another time system that you're using on the corporate side, or an HR system that you're using for onboarding with another provider, payroll systems, of course, and then ERP systems or GL systems where you need to pull in those project codes, maybe equipment utilization, and really have the accuracy back to the financial backbone of the company is what we pride ourselves on, being able to build APIs and integrations with any of these systems to really make it seamless, so all of your systems can remain the same while you're elevating your performance and strategy as an organization. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and Lydia, I'd love to just kick it over to you so we can jump into the technology and showcase some of the things that I was just talking about at a high level for the viewers.
Sounds great. Okay, let me just figure out how to share my screen here. It's not like I do this every day, so. Okay, window. Okay, let me know if you can see that okay, and if it's coming through all right on your end.
I can see it, and I just added it to the stage.
Fantastic. Awesome. So we're going to go ahead and we're actually going to get started directly with the device. So this is what employees will see when they come to a device. This is set up in a mobile clock mode, so it's set up intentionally for multiple employees. And I just wanted to demonstrate kind of the ease of punching in. So we'll go ahead and just punch in. This is just a test user here. You can see that I've got a couple of options that if I have a scheduled shift, my shift will populate here. And then what it's actually doing is it's detecting my location. There's a geofence that I've set up around this job pin. And so it's auto-selected the job for me based on my location. So we're going to go ahead and punch in. You'll see here that it captured my face very quickly. It recognized me. And we'll go ahead and take a look at what that looks like from the main platform. So what you're looking at here is the main platform. This is the dashboard. You can see anybody that's clocked in. So I'll go ahead and refresh. Awesome. You'll see that that profile is just added here. You can see that I punched in here at 110. We'll go ahead and open my profile and look at the details. So the transition of the punch to the clock is pretty seamless. I want to highlight also that, say, for example, that you have a remote site location. All of this works 100% offline. So if I were to put my phone into airplane mode right now, it would capture the punch. And then as soon as I return to service or get Wi-Fi again, the punch will automatically upload directly to Grand Central, kind of the main platform here. So we'll take a look at the details here. You can see the picture that was captured, the location of the punch, and then all the details as well. So the job was included here, and any additional information that you'd want to include would all be displayed here within the punch details.
Now, real quickly while we're on this, because again, it happened so quickly, I want to make sure that I'm highlighting it. You had a pin that you punched in with, and then you punched in with your face. So it's kind of, two factors of being able to punch you in. Then it's going to sync back to, this Grand Central environment that, the organization can see. But let's just say that you actually arrived at the job 2 hours ago, and for whatever reason, you didn't punch in. From here, you can actually just go edit that initial time, and it's going to track an audit log for individuals to see that there was an adjustment made?
Yeah, so if I change this time to, we'll say I got here at 11, if I go ahead and change that, it's pretty easy to change. You'll notice here that the color changed. That is just to indicate that there was a manual change to the time. So if I click back here into the record, if I scroll down, you'll see that this was updated. So you'll see the time that the original punch came in for, and then you can see the time that it was changed to down here in the audit history.
Awesome.
So really great to point that out. Okay, another thing, so with the location, when I arrived at the site, it detected my location and auto snapped to the correct job pin. So auto selected the job for me. So that's one thing that's helpful, is to ensure that your employees are in the right location, right? So say, for example, that I am not quite at the job site. I punch in from my car, or I'm at home in the comfort of my bed, and I punch in, my head's still on the pillow. You'd be able to come in and see that. It would be flagged as an exception to let you know that I did not punch in. So this is the pin where I punched in from, and this is the pin where the job has been set up. And so if I'm not within the geofence designated for this job, then it will be flagged as an exception, and it can be reviewed at a different point. So we'd actually have had that where people have punched in, their heads are still on their pillow, and haven't quite started their day yet. So that way.
And even things like if you cover the camera, if you're wearing a motorcycle helmet, which I saw from one of our customers, like somebody that's trying to punch in for you and trying to hide that fact, all of those would be flagged as exceptions for review. And a lot of the times it becomes something that obviously a supervisor or some sort of a leadership can be flagged and notified that this is an issue that needs to be dealt with.
Right, good point. And with buddy punching, I actually have an example that I want to show you. So I punched in a little bit earlier for another employee within this account. And so we'll go ahead and take a look at that exception. And what it looks like is a low biometric score. So you'll see that that is flagged here. This is our exceptions menu. And it will actually show the picture that was captured, and then it will show the comparison images. So these are the initial 5 images that are captured for each employee, and it will tell you the percentage. And if it's beneath, I think, 95%, then it will be flagged for review. So you can come in and accept or reject this based on whether or not it is actually the person.
Yeah, and the other cool thing that I love about our biometrics and exceptions process is, over time, somebody might change an appearance. I might all of a sudden grow up and be able to grow a beard. And so, I'm going to look different. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But if you go in here and you do say, oh, no, this is Grace for whatever reason, because you got a new haircut, or, maybe you're wearing a hat or something like that, the AI behind our biometric will actually start to learn the different changes in your appearance or the different things that you might wear, like a hat or glasses. And so over time, the biometric will get smarter and smarter to know that that's you and your appearance is changing, or maybe you've, added some accessories or whatever the case might be. Whereas I think in a lot of other systems, it's either pass fail. And so there is no ongoing learning, and somebody might have to retake their face spaces or whatever to retrain the system from the employee level, which we don't require them to do.
Right. Yeah. Great point, Josh. So another thing that has come up with employees trying to game the system, that's pretty common, is we'll have employees that will try to clock in with a photo of themselves or a video of themselves at the clock. And so they'll arrive at the clock, or someone else will, and they'll hold up their phone or their camera with a picture of themselves, and they'll try to punch in. So we've recently developed a new feature, liveness detection. And so it can actually detect, at the time that the employee is punching in, it can detect whether or not it's them on a screen or if it's actually them there in person. So I wanted to demonstrate that today as well. We'll go ahead and come back over here to the device.
Yeah, and while you're doing that, just to describe the what's commonly known as spoofing, biometrics will measure very specific parameters of somebody's face, so the distance between their nose and their ears and their mouth and their eyes, and facial characteristics that can kind of be mapped. And I think what you're going to be showing is, if that's the case, then a still image could fool a biometric, could fool any biometric that's built on those principles. But if you are a human being actually there in front of the camera, you're going to have micro movements. There's going to be some sort of ability for the system to actually say, oh yeah, that person's really there at that time.
Right. Yeah, and it's actually pretty cool. It works really well. We do have quite a few clients that are excited about this, because we were surprised at how many were actually using this as a way to get around the system. So we'll go ahead and give it a shot. We'll go ahead and punch in. I've just got a video of myself here that I will hold up. Okay, and so you'll notice here that it didn't quite capture my face. And it was because there was not movement. And so sometimes the punch will go through and it will capture the face. But if the liveness score is below the threshold, then it will still flag it for review. And so we'll look at that now. We'll go ahead and refresh the screen here. Go ahead and click on the drop down. We'll look at the exception. These are the confirmed images. And then you'll see here that the liveness score was a fail. So you can see that it was not a match, and that this was a failed score here. So you'll be able to come in and review that. So that is pretty cool.
That is awesome. Yeah.
Okay. So next on the agenda is to kind of walk through breaks. At a lot of companies, it is required for employees to take breaks throughout the day. And so we wanted to demonstrate kind of the ease of taking a break from the Find app. So you'll see here, this is the employee that I punched in with very first. I've set up a break to trigger a few minutes after the employees have been clocked in. And there's different parameters that you can set for these breaks. But essentially, I come into the device and it pops up a banner at the top and says, hey, are you ready to take a break? So I'll go ahead and click take break. We'll start my lunch break. Go ahead and click start. And I'm punched into my break. So punching in for breaks, very simple, it's the same thing. Enter their PIN, they click on the break button, they take the break, and it's the same thing when they come back. And we also have ways, so for example, if I try to punch back in for my break too early, if I try to end my break now, I'll get a message that says I can't end my break until 1:25. That's the duration that I've set for this break.
Got it.
So there are different things that you can do. You can allow them to override, or you can disable this option as well if they are required to take a certain duration for a break.
And again, because you're capturing the biometric for that punch, I know a lot of customers of ours, like in California or New York, if they ever have an action where employees are saying, hey, we weren't allowed breaks, or the breaks weren't actually taken, having this in place actually allows the company to go back and say, actually, we have a full audit trail of when the breaks were taken, when they were notified, who took them. And it just provides a really clean record for an organization that, beyond their own policy, is legally required to provide these breaks and ensure that they're actually taken.
Yeah. So, and commonly with another common item along with breaks is transferring between multiple locations. So Sometimes we'll have employees that are transferring between 4 to 5 locations in just a single shift. And so in order to make this a really seamless and easy process, we use the geofence locations of the shift to auto-populate the job. So all the employee has to do is arrive at their next location. And I'll go ahead and show this. So if I arrive at my next location, and I haven't actually moved, so we'll go ahead and simulate this, but we'll say that I've moved to the different office. It should automatically populate the new job. It'll pop up this transfer screen, and it will give them the option to transfer. And so the transfer option, what that does is it stops the time at the original job or site that they were punched to, and then it starts the time at the next site. So we'll go ahead and transfer. And it's going to take me through a couple of questions, and we'll cover these a little bit later. Go ahead and transfer. Awesome. And then we'll take a look at what that looks like from the platform as well. Go ahead and refresh the screen here. Look at this week, and you'll see here that on this day, Josh, is the screen big enough?
You can zoom in a little bit.
Go ahead and increase that a little bit. Is that better?
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so this was my initial punch, punched in at 1:18, and then when I transferred, you'll see that it ended the time at the Cedar City office. So from 1:18 to 1:23 was at Cedar City, and then from 1:23, and then obviously until I punch out again, that will be my time at the next office, the St. George office.
That's awesome. Can you click on the show component time card?
Yes.
And one of the things that I love to talk about is it might be different locations, which might be different projects or contracts that you're working under. So there might be different pay rules. There might be different accruals that need to take place for these different positions that you're punching into. And so being able to quickly break out a time card in terms of all those different punches based on the job, location, phase, whatever it is that you want to set up, can easily be broken down into these visible sections, so you can see what the earnings are against those pay tables. But also, this is where we can start to differentiate all the other components that are different pay groups and pay types in these different phases, projects, jobs that we can set up within the hierarchy of Find.
Right. Yeah, so you'll see here that there are 2 separate time cards, one that will break out all of the hours per job, like Josh was saying. And if there's a different rate for that job, then it will display the rate here as well. So it breaks down the total hours worked at each location. And then you'll see the second punch for the St. George office. It's at a different job, so it has its own time card here for the separate breakdown and cost allocation.
Yeah, especially for clients too that might do business on a border state. And so they have people that go work in another state, and those have different overtime rules, for example. And again, it's really hard to get a consolidated time card with all of that information in one piece and then be able to break it back down. But because our system is built on that hierarchy to begin with, that's naturally how a customer would be able to set up their account with Find.
Right. And one other thing I wanted to, we can dive a little bit deeper as far as cost allocation, is we have an option to break down jobs even further into phases. And so a lot of construction companies use this for different phases of a specific job. So in a construction context, it might be framing or concrete. And so they want to know how many hours are being spent on each phase of the job during a certain period of time. And so we have that option as well from the clock to separate that cost allocation. And that's with the phases. And so you'll see here, if I click on phase, I have all these different ones added in here. We have concrete, drywall excavation, etc. So if I were to click on one of those, it would treat it as another transfer. I can go ahead and transfer to that phase. And then it will break down that cost allocation within the time card and then also within the job itself. And so we'll go ahead over here to the job profile and take a look at it from the job profile perspective.
And while you're opening that up, again, going back to our ability to integrate with multiple systems, a lot of times these project codes or phases are stored in a separate system. And so our ability to integrate and pull that information in and make it available to the worker just, again, makes it super seamless for the cost allocation to happen within Find. And it doesn't require you to necessarily replace or change your process that you have within an existing system that you really like.
Right. And with that, we've seen a ton of companies that want to import a lot of those because they are stored in separate locations. So you'll see here in the job profile, it will kind of give it's like a time card for the job broken down per day. And so it will tell you who's working at that site, the number of phases that are in use. So you'll see here that we've got concrete, and then no phase is selected because I punched in without a phase. And then it breaks down within the time card as well. Go ahead and pop this open.
Immediately when we got on the call today, I was like, Lydia's going to be doing some concrete work today.
Yeah. Yes.
It jumped out to me.
Look at me. I'm out here lifting concrete every day. So you can see that breakout started here as well. So I punched into the St. George office, and then I punched into the phase concrete at the St. George office. And so it started a different time breakdown of that. So
awesome.
Okay, now that we've punched in, taken our breaks, and transferred, I'll go ahead and show you what the punch out process looks like. Go ahead and use this employee. We'll go ahead and end my break. Very simple. That's going to take me back to work, punch me back in. And then when I'm ready to punch out for the day, we'll come back here and we'll go ahead and punch out. And then from here, this is going to take me to the punch questions. And this is what I skipped over a little bit earlier. So we have the option to set up a series of attestation questions that can be asked either at the beginning or at the end of a shift. These ones are set up to ask at the end when your employees are punching out. And so you can set these up in multiple languages. So we'll go ahead and select English. And these can be questions like PPE compliance, that I wear my personal protective equipment throughout my entire shift. Anything that you want to cover legally. Reminders even, I've seen people use it to say, hey, did you turn off the lights today when you left the building, that type of thing. Did you lock up? So did you follow all company policies and procedures? Were you injured at work today? That type of thing. And then based on my answer, if I answer negatively to any of those questions, it will create an exception that can then be reviewed by a supervisor, and action can be taken based on that. So once I've punched out, you'll see that it brings me here to my time card. It will show me the amount of hours that I've worked for the week or for the day. And then it will also give me the option to approve my time card. And you'll see here that I also have an option for external approval. So we have some clients that require their employees to get a supervisor approval before they leave for the day. And so this presents the time card to them at the end of the day. They can get an external approval. They take it to their supervisor. They enter their name, title, and then they can sign with their finger on the device and submit that, so that there's kind of 2 rounds of approval. And then we also have the option for the employee to approve their own time card. And so I already clicked out of it, but if you come back here to the time card, I can approve my own time card here. and it's the same thing. So by signing this time card, I attest that the hours are accurate and complete. This messaging is completely modifiable, so you can kind of customize this based on your own needs. The employee can then sign with their finger, submit, and then that is reviewable as well from Grand Central within their profile. So I'll go ahead and show you what that looks like from Grand Central really quick. So you can see here that I've got two types of approval. I've got the employee approval, and then I have the supervisor approval here as well.
Awesome.
So,
and then if you click into that last shift, it will show the punch questions in there as well on that punch set.
Correct, yes. Let's see, did I punch out with this one? Perfect.
Awesome.
You can see I was talking while I was taking the picture. Yeah, so it shows the answers to those questions there. And then if it's a negative answer, then you'll see those, it'll be flagged. And those can all be reviewed once again from this exceptions bar.
Awesome. Amazing.
Okay, and Josh, I think that was pretty much everything that I had. Did we have anything else that we wanted to cover with the demo?
No, I think that was a lot. And again, hopefully gave everybody a good sense of the capabilities that Find has from our time collection and compliance, and how we really de-risk organizations from the fraud and potential for buddy punching, but also just gives a lot of additional tools to run the business in the most efficient way possible. Lydia, thank you so much, and hopefully everybody enjoyed the presentation today.
Yeah, thanks, Josh.
Awesome. Talk to you soon.
Bye.